Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Alright guys, the chapter has just been released. It had a lot of good things. First things first, Cole got his limiters removed. They possibly hinted towards a time skip. Ida didn't accept nor decline Shikamaru's offer to join the Hidden Leaf Village, and Naruto is still struggling to push a door that says pull. This chapter right here was definitely decent, but the first thing that we definitely do have to talk about has to be Code's limiters. This right here was one of the things that we've been talking about for a very long time. I think about 15 months now, and Code finally got his limiters removed. The first question is going to be, how strong is Code now? And one of the things that we do know from a couple of chapters ago is the fact that Code without his limiters is stronger than Jigen. I don't necessarily think you guys need a reminder on this, but Jigen literally soloed Naruto and Sasuke. But one of the things that I definitely do have to point out is that it's very, very possible that this Code is very close to that version of Jigen. The reason why I say that is because the Jigen that Naruto and Sasuke fought was abnormally stronger than what he usually is. Before he actually did enter the fight versus Naruto and Sasuke, he absorbed a lot of chakra from the actual 10 tails, and we understand what 10 tail chakra amps could potentially do to some people. So I think that if we're going to actually guesstimate how strong a character like Code is possibly going to be, I'd say he'd probably be very, very similar to a character like Jigen. So obviously he'd be stronger than a character like Momoshiki, stronger than a character like Kage Otsutsuki, stronger than a character like Urashiki, essentially one of the strongest villains that we've seen before in the entire series. And not only that, this version of Code looks absolutely insane. Some people are actually even saying that Code may actually even have another dojutsu because his eyes took the form of something completely different, and also because Code's limiters, quote unquote, didn't necessarily specify what it actually limited. It's also possible that this version of Code may actually have some new abilities that we have not actually seen before. But my biggest problem with this Code form is that it's kind of been undercut by Ida and Damon. The reason why I say that is because a couple of chapters ago, Ida was essentially talking to Code, and she said it doesn't matter if you get your limiters removed. If you get out of line, me and Damon are essentially going to pack you up. She said something along the lines with that, but it just makes it seem that even though this Code looks absolutely insane, he's still not the strongest villain in the series. We shouldn't even really be worried about Code right now. We should be worried about Ida and Damon. Now, speaking of Ida, the last chapter ended off with a cliffhanger. Shikamaru essentially gave her the option to join the Hidden Leaf Village. I actually speculated that if she was generally only looking for Kawaki and didn't necessarily have any other ulterior motives, then Ida would most likely take this offer. But in this chapter, it doesn't necessarily look like she took the offer, and it doesn't necessarily fully look like she rejected the offer either. The reason why we can't necessarily say that she denied the offer fully is because she essentially told Shikamaru, thank you for the enticing offer and let's meet again. And the reason why we can't necessarily say that she accepted the offer just off of that is because she did actually leave with Code. So that right there kind of gives mixed signals. It might actually be a certain situation where Ida wants to see exactly how Code would look or how Code would actually be with his limiters removed. But one of the things that we do know for sure is that in this chapter, she was 100% contemplating it, and Code himself looked like he was getting extremely worried. He even called the situation quote unquote weird. Now, specifically, I'm not necessarily going to make any actual sweeping predictions just about this Ida situation just as of yet, but I personally do believe this is not the end of this discussion. I still do think it's definitely a possibility for Ida to actually join the Hidden Leaf Village a little bit later on into the future, depending on what Code decides to do, and I think depending on what the actual Hidden Leaf Village plans to do. Now, one of the other biggest things that did actually happen in this chapter is the fact that Shikamaru learned about the Senringan. The reason why Shikamaru actually did learn about the Senringan is because Ida actually used the Senringan in this chapter when Naruto himself was struggling to push the door that said pull. Now, in this specific situation, I think it was very valuable for a couple of reasons. First things first, Amato was actually kidnapped in this chapter. Hypothetically, if Amato didn't necessarily tell Shikamaru about the Senringan and about all of its abilities, Shikamaru and everybody else would be very, very much in the dark. However, I do have to say, Shikamaru had a very good idea of specifically what the Senringan could actually do, but a couple of key things that Amato did actually say to Shikamaru was that Boruto and Kawaki would kind of be immune to Ida's abilities, and specifically with the Senringan, she can't necessarily read telepathy. A lot of the fans out there, even us, we knew Ida's abilities almost to the T, but we didn't necessarily understand if she could actually read telepathy, and now we understand for a fact. I know some people out there might be a little bit sketched out because Amato did actually relay this information, and some people still think that he has ulterior motives, which is definitely possible, but in this particular situation, he has absolutely no reason to lie. Literally, his life is also on the line, and we see from the end of this chapter as well when Code is literally about to kill Amato. A time skip was also slightly hinted towards in this particular episode just because of the sheer fact that Amato told Shikamaru while they were quote unquote arguing. Ino actually called them out for this, but while they were quote unquote arguing, Amato was essentially telling Shikamaru that Boruto and Kawaki should get stronger to eventually face a character like Code in the future. That right there seems eerily similar to, of course, a lot of the time skips that we did see in the past. Naruto and Sasuke, when they did go on their first time skip, of course, in Naruto Part 1 and Naruto Part 2, what did they do? Of course, they trained a lot. And we all anticipate that Boruto, Sarada, Kawaki, Mitsuki, etc., pretty much everybody, they're going to be going through a level of training through the time skip. Now, because Amato actually did say this, and because this right here might be an actual chapter finality, this right here could possibly mean that a time skip is on its way. Now, one of the things that I definitely do have to say, I don't necessarily think it's going to happen. The reason why I don't necessarily think it's going to happen is because too much doors were left completely open in this chapter, just because of the sheer fact that Kawaki wants to speak to Amato. Now, just to explain this backstory, Kawaki was talking to Sumire in this chapter, and Sumire kind of hinted towards the fact that Amato plants the karma seal into Kawaki because he himself had some ulterior motives. Now, Kawaki specifically, he was completely speechless. Once he made that, he made an absolute beeline to actually find Amato. Remind you guys, the Kawaki had absolutely no idea that Code and Ida were there. The reason why he went there is because he wanted to actually talk to Amato. Now, at this particular time, Amato is kidnapped by Code. And by the way, this is just a slight bit of predictions and preview. I'll probably get a lot deeper into this in my actual preview video, but I believe that Kawaki is going to go after Code in the next chapter. At this very moment, there are multiple claw marks in that room, and Shikamaru is now asking Kawaki to actually shrink the claw mark so Code cannot get back into the Hidden Leaf Village. I think it's the complete opposite. I personally believe that Kawaki is going to actually jump through one of the claw marks. This situation, in my personal opinion, is just way too perfect for Kawaki to pass up. Remind you guys, he wants to talk to Amato. Not only that, he wants to kill Code. This is like the perfect situation. And also, Kawaki as of right now doesn't fully know that Code just got his limiters removed. So in Kawaki's mind, he's thinking this might be a 2-for-1 special, plus it might even be a 3-for-1 special because he now get to meet Ida. And not only that, it might even be a 4-for-4. Shout out to Wendy's, because he probably wants to figure out exactly what Damon did to him to actually knock him out like that. I'm pretty sure he probably wants some revenge as well. So I personally believe that this opportunity, it might be a little bit too hasty for Kawaki, but that's just in his nature. And of course, if that happens and we see Kawaki jump through, I won't necessarily be surprised if we see a character like Boruto jump through. And because we've seen Boruto jump through, we then would see Sasuke and Naruto jump through as well. That right there, in my personal opinion, would probably happen in the next chapter. I don't know. This is just my prediction. I'm giving you guys game very, very early. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. What are your opinions about Code's brand new form? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Do you like how it looks? Do you not like how it looks? And not only that, rate this chapter right here on a scale of 1 to 10. But it's me, your boy Barbie, and we out.
It's a knife.